Hello, truth seekers and researchers and realists. We've got a slightly better connection. Let's see how it goes. To try and share ideas, personal opinions about the evil C word that has gripped the nation and just has well, again threatens like a virus to culture. Hi, Stashman. To something that's very inhumane. Of course, as usual, the very humane aspects of society, the very conscientious, productive, diligent, and caring members of society are being shepherded into doing good for the community. They are out there wanting to. All right, but fake satellite signal, phone towers, and hopefully we'll keep a better connection going. Yeah. The paranoid conspiracy theorist in me is scanned and interrupted. But this is the thing. This whole thing has been put into place. You know, they could do it. 50 people being online without being able to spy on the phones and people. Righty, okay, this should be a better place. Hang in there, chap. Hang in there, chap. Funky. So, hopefully you're still here. Hi, everyone. Okay. Am I locked down there? Asks the bloody truth. Well, what's the definition of locked down? You know, we're getting messages that you must do this, you must do that. That's actually an important point because, you know, if we have to understand the language that's being used and the messages that come across in the misunderstanding of the language. There's a difference between the word must and have to. If you say, I must go to the dentist, this is not something that you are have, and so you should. So that's a definition of must, whereas have to is an order that you have to follow. So in terms of following the law, you have to. Yeah, so you know, again, yeah, the very word lockdown. I mean, of course, for a lot of people, this is the biggest adventure they've had in their lives. You know, this is something to do. This is, you know, that's the thing. So what I'm seeing here is people, of course, they do feel mobilized. They've already got it all in place now, where you can make your application online to be a volunteer and be on the front line and what have you. And of course, most of the talk now it's you know. Again, the human imagination and intellect is coming into play, and people are spending time. They're arguing, they're debating about what we can do. How can we integrate this all into the way we live? But nobody's actually. They're already talking about that, rather, you know, gone past the there's this acceptance that the threat we are being told is an actual threat. There is no, there is no questioning of, is there an ulterior motive? So the arguments are already centered around, how to cope, rather than much realization about. In fact, I saw an interesting video just now. It was actually a Guardian video, but it was taken from a big apartment block in China, where maybe I think it was the health minister or someone like that was walking through this big, apartment complex with a group of people, and there were people shouting from the balconies, it's a hoax, it's all, blah blah blah. There's people that are catching on, they realise, but of course at the same time you also have a lot of people that are demanding this or demanding that in this situation, and so the whole system and everything and everyone else is getting bogged down with how do we cope with this. I was walking through a supermarket yesterday, and there's a couple of staff talking about the measures they're going to implement, about letting people into the store and things like that. They don't know when they're going to get the next batch of rice or whatever from delivered, things like that. They are left in this kind of state of confusion, but at the same time people are being inventive and innovative. But of course this is a misdirection. This is rather than directing efforts at everyone is dedicated to this force interact with each other, So personally, I'm just thinking of ways I try to let them know that I'm not, there is no 2-meter rule for me, and I'm fine with that. And I think that's what people need to see. Individuals, the fear, not be focused on what's that, David Marks, Charles? It is everybody, every single person is going to have these antibodies that they test for, as far as I understand from what I've been listening to or researching from health practitioners that are done in much the same as the HIV tests in the past. They basically test for the antibodies. So if your body is reacting, repairing itself from any particular disease or any kind of generic dis-ease, that doesn't mean that there's a virus or a bug or a germ in you. It just means that your body isn't, it's not in tip-top condition, and it is doing what it needs to do. It's creating the antibodies or whatever it does. It's the immune defenses are working away, and of course those are the things that will be traceable in anybody that gets tested. So we can all see what's coming. We can all see these mandatory tests and the mandatory, vaccines and what have you coming. We can see all of this, and of course we can also see what's frightening is that people are demanding it. They will acquiesce to it. They will not question it, and they will. And of course, eventually, what we have is a society just like Nazi Germany, where the Jews are labeled. They've got an armband or something, or of course this will be digital armbands or digital implants that will allow or disallow access to certain places or products or areas and things like that, which in my mind at first isn't too bad if you don't care about going to concerts or this or that, or where there are mass gatherings anyway. But of course it will end up restricting things like travel and flight and basically everything we do, because everything we do already in this very short space of time is centered solely around this fear-mongering of something that just doesn't exist. doesn't exist. Yeah. So what's that? S. Holzer, body, mind, and spirit all must be in balance. There is a wobble, so to speak. Oh, yes. Okay, what's that? Ex-heliocentric. Had to drive my roommate to hospital this morning for unrelated issue. Totally empty and quiet. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, these places aren't overcrowded. There isn't a strain on the National Health Services. It's all perceived. It's all planted in the imagination, in the psyche, from the programming. Yeah. Hello, Orbs Realm. Hi. Yeah. I mean, it's. S. Holzer, this has been used to deceive and hide other things, very, very wrong things. Yeah. It's just a simple money grab. That's all it is. It's putting people in debt. That's all it is, really. On the surface, or at the root of it, it is, insurance. It's an insurance job. It's the usual thing, sold on fear. Sold on the what if, sold on prevention. Yes, prevention is better than cure. Well, we don't have a cure. We might have a cure, you know? David, the virus is like space, has been put in our... Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, isn't it? You can draw the same... This is it, you know, as those of us who understand that the Earth is not a spinning globe, then we can see exactly the same concept, the way a concept is put across. So we can now very much see and measure how easy it was to put the heliocentric model into the psyche of the general population, and for it to become consensus. Yeah, just as all this stupid 2-meter idiocy has become consensus. Yeah, from something that doesn't exist, just a concept that was put in our heads. So, yeah, I was going to say earlier, before we got cut off, I mean, the war propaganda hasn't changed. You know, the idea that anyone could be spying on you, the walls have ears, the enemy's watching. Of course, the enemy now is the C word. And the tactics haven't changed. The propaganda techniques are old school, but of course the tech makes it a lot easier to send people messages on their mobile phones saying you must stay indoors. Yeah, and of course, boom, that hits you, and they don't have your number per se. All it is the company, the carrier, is ordered to send out text messages to all of their subscribers. That's it. Boom, out it goes on an automated system. So, it doesn't, just because you get a message from the government doesn't mean that they've got your number. And of course, that's the thing. It is an absolute requirement that everyone is separated and doesn't gather and doesn't share and doesn't resist at this time, because they cannot implement the threats that are being the veiled threats that come with the current broadcasts. As if everyone, I'm very disappointed to see people aren't obeying the rules, and so firmer measures must be taken. And of course, everyone else starts demanding it. Yes, go Boris, go. It's okay, we're back again. Sorry about that. Flat Earth. Yeah, okay, but again, do not be scared. This isn't. We shouldn't be scared. We shouldn't be triggered. Because we know that defense. Yeah. So, it's. I think it's up to those of us who realize the fear mechanism that has been put in place to not be triggered by this fear, to be you know, unfearful and very confident in the realization of what's actually going on. Yeah, it's purely economical. That's all it is. All right, and of course, ultimately, economics is to do with people and behavior. Yeah, trends. Yeah, that's all. That's all it is. It's very, very simple. Yeah, and then one can step back and see how it's all being put together. Yeah, they don't take cash. Well, okay. That, you know, there does have to be boycotting. I'm personally going to make the effort to not patronize anywhere that won't accept my cash. I'm not going to use a card or a cashless system to pay. Yeah. And of course, you have to do that when you buy things online. But you know, so how, you know, this is, it's just one of those things, you know, we have to not be dependent upon the system, which many of us are already aware of, but perhaps not putting into practice, whether it's finding a way to grow your own food and, you know, 6 months down the line, be totally independent of any of that, or you know, be part of a community that shares food and, you know, work together towards the winter. Yeah, use the summer as a productive means to become independent of any need to depend on the system by the time the winter comes around. You know, so then you don't, you know, then people can go to the supermarket with their 2-meter rules. Yeah, but you don't have to. You don't have to partake. Yeah, and money talks. So if you're not spending your money in those places, then, you know, you're hitting the target where it most hurts, because ultimately this is a money grab. That's all it is. Putting people in debt. Yeah, and that's the thing, they've already snapped it up. So in a sense, there's already a little bit of sense of calm now, because of course, because there were place years and months beforehand. Now that, you know, it's been a couple of days, it really hasn't been very long of this kind of crisis mode, but now people are being, or businesses are being placated with their loans. They're being told it's okay, you're going to get this, and, you know, the money's coming through, and it's all been done very chop shape and Bristol fashion. It's all, you know, so people have been placated. Their fears have been, you know, their misdirected fears of losing out on money and business have been displaced. Yeah, so everything's cool. Everyone, yeah, okay, right. Oh, it's a holiday. I'll just take a holiday. You know, I've got time to pay this back and what have you, and everything. They'll work it out, and they'll announce the new rules and regulations, and we'll just go along with that, and everything will be fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. More people die of influenza. Yeah. We need to live in the dust. They have nothing without us. Yep, that's right. That's right. You know, I strongly believe that obviously, you know, commerce exists and it works in its wonderful ways to feed and whatever, for people to thrive. But of course, this is a grab to control the world's commerce. And so, you know, you can dip into it when the time needs, when the requirements are there, but also be free and independent of it. Yeah, I think it's very important to do that, because we know that as when a system's put in place like this, it's not for everyone's own good. So you know that eventually the system will turn and sink its sharp teeth into you, even if you've been a good boy or girl. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I think, you know, reacting with fear is what they want in any way, shape or form. So yeah, again, the influenza point is a really good one. This is, you know, just present those facts, present those facts to people, just a very, very basic, transparent understanding that, the testing will reveal results for anyone that's had any kind of dis-ease and is in the recovery stages of it, that it is just a label for, the symptoms of pneumonia or flu. It isn't a threat any more than anything else. Yeah, I mean, we all know this, it's preaching to the converted, as it were, but I think that's the message that has to be gotten out. And as I was saying, having researched and now being more aware of how these societal changes are brought about, we are pre-armed, pre-warned, and can preempt the kind of rhetoric you're going to get. But again, it's just I think it's a case of conveying the facts. The facts speak for themselves. Yeah. Message. Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you, Flat Earth. Yeah. So yeah. And to be honest, for the most part, I mean, look, people are out and about, but of course, the moment you sit in front of the TV or you turn the radio on, then you're being distracted by all this noise and fear mongering, and on an invisible dog leash. Okay, what's this one? P. Murray. What's that? P. Murray. I'm a key worker and I must wear my ID badge when outside. Easy for police to ID you and instantly know your business. Yeah. It is all about tracking. Yeah. And isn't it interesting how, they talk about key workers. There is these lines are being drawn. Distinctions. Everyone is a key person. Everyone is a key individual in our community. Everyone has skills. Everyone is unique. Everyone has something to contribute to everyone. And so we should not be boxed. We should not be separated by any lines, imaginary lines of who is important and who isn't. Yeah. And in fact, the so-called key workers are really getting messed around, because I'll take someone I know who's a part-time police officer, and so while they are off work, they must stay at home with their kid. When they are on duty, their child once or twice a week has to go to a different school, one of the schools that's been set aside for key workers. It's just created this chaos, absolute chaos. And of course, everyone now is, they're all focused on how do we solve this problem, this problem created by the bullshit, created by, the C word. Yeah. And so whole people's entire lives are being disrupted, and they're having to juggle things and think about all these extra steps just to keep things going. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's that? So we need to have the buddy system, take care of one another and look out for one another. Yeah. Of course, that's of course what's being used. That's been put in place. That kindness, that intrinsic kindness in everyone to do good for their neighbour, for their loved ones, is is being used, and in many ways that's very beautiful. But what's happening is, of course, if you're an aged person, if you're retired and you're spending time at home, and let's say you're 65, 70 years old, everyone now is looking at you, and you yourself will believe that your social life is over. No more meetings with your friends, no more going out for walks, no more knitting club, no more library, no more church, yeah? All that has been taken away. So basically you work until your retirement. The retirement age has, of course, been put up recently. You work until your retirement, and then you believe destroying the idea that you can have a social life once you've completed your working life. Yeah, talk about the bloody, what was Mao Zedong's thing? Cultural Revolution? Or the Industrial Revolution? It really is. It's an industrial revolution, and of course it is a grab where the tech is there. It used to be the printing presses and factories. Now it's, of course, the factories still exist, but now what we've got the tech, we've got the communication technology. Yeah. So this is the technological industrial revolution. So like anything, it can be used as a weapon, or it can be used as a very useful tool. So, yeah. I must admit, I have a little bit of paranoia about talking about this online, going live and doing but sod it. I refuse to be kowtowed by this fear. And if someone wants to come along and say, Mr. Davis, you're not allowed to do that, I'll say, who says and why? Or maybe I won't say a damn thing, because ultimately we all have the right to hang on to our own identity, and you don't have to go and identify yourself. You don't have to enter into contract by identifying yourself. Yeah. Look at the birds and the fish or whatever, the seasons, the sun. Is it obeying any social distancing rules? Do they have any awareness of this? Of course not. Are all the birds and bees and stuff going to die out from some coronavirus? Of course not. Are we? No, doesn't exist. Does not exist. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm just very keen to share ideas on positive approaches to disarm. It always comes down to the way these things are told. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading your thing. Flat Earth, Tom Hanks. Oh gosh, yeah. Look, again, I was funny. Yeah, they did it here. You heard. I'm sure we all heard it on. Oh, so and so has gone into self-isolation, and you know when you hear that news that this is just another one of that person has been paid as a professional entertainer or a public figure or an influencer. Hey, let's interview you and you say this, and we'll give you, there's some future work coming for you, or there's a check in the post, whatever, or there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off. And again, I know how this all works from media, working in public relations companies, and it's very simple. It's very simple the way it all works. You know, you get people in, you have a press event, and you get people in that are kind of influencers. There is some benefit for that person. Maybe just getting the publicity will be a good enough trade-off for that person. And of course, then, you know, the celebrity status brings the media along, and then boom, all of a sudden you've got your message out. You spent a little bit of money, you made some arrangements, you set up an event, and then, you know, you simply put celebrities and media together, and voila, your message gets out there to the nation. It's very simple. Yeah, there's no secret formula to this, but of course, yeah, the media is so very well controlled. I'm not seeing any more chats. Not sure why. But yeah, did World Trade Center 7 of the floor? I'm not sure. Love the scenery. Okay, yeah, 250,000 hospital volunteers are going to be bored. Yep. Yeah. So this is it. In many ways, I'm very confident that it won't work out, because, as I was saying, nature will carry on as normal. Summertime will come. People want to get outside, and they will find themselves, gathering in groups again. They'll they'll get back to it. And, to be honest, there might not be too much resistance against that, because really, job done. You know, the insurance scheme was in place. It's now too late to join that insurance scheme, the World Bank's insurance scheme that I mentioned yesterday, because, you know, we're almost getting to the end of, the bonds in that scheme. They're going to mature in a couple of months, so they're now being sold off at, they're just at there's no incentive for people to invest as a stakeholder in that insurance until the next round, which is May, June. Okay, so these bonds in the World Bank's epidemic insurance scheme will mature in a couple of months, and so that's what we're seeing the build up to. But that's the thing. The fear has been put in place, and so it will end up just being forgotten about, just like everything else, just like SARS, just like AIDS, just like whatever. It'll all end up just being forgotten about. Yeah, quietly go away. Something else will come along to distract people, but and by that time, those private investors that gained huge markups in interest rates over the past 2 years, and will then receive back their money plus a lot more from the messing around of the stocks and everything without an actual outbreak. That's the thing. We're going to be kind of eventually kind of given the impression, not told outright, that it's all kind of over now. We've done what we need to do to protect ourselves. Give yourselves a pat on the back, and you can be proud to be one of these people in the nation that contributed in this time of crisis. Yeah? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so the thing is, I'm not getting the chat anymore. Let's... top chat, live chat. Okay, let's see. Okay. Right. What's this one? The mind of God. Phuket word, do you think this has correlations to the already... well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's all manipulated. That is all manipulated. Yeah, but it need not occupy our time. Let them play their silly games. Yeah, as I was saying, as long as the less dependent any of us are on that, the less we've got to worry about. You're only worried if you've got, big loans or mortgages or whatever, things like that, But, yeah, it'll all work out. I like the metal palm trees. Yeah, I am missing the tropical weather, but at the same time, it's still kind of nice here. Okay. The scenery. I feel like we're on. Yeah, it's kind of it's a bit muddy. Oh, hang on, Andy, what you're saying? My dad's not long had flu vaccine and taking this time seriously. I also lost my mum recently. Oh, sorry to hear that, my man. Sorry about that. Yeah, was coming in blue gowns and that's horrible, isn't it? That's worse, isn't it? It's bad enough stuff dealing with the death, but then when they come and treat your mother or whoever, your relative, like some toxic entity that they daren't touch. I mean, that's horrific. Yeah, that just adds to the stress and everything. The issue is the system is designed to make us more dependent, and they have been. Oh, that's very true. I totally agree with you. What's that? The mind of God? Yeah. I mean, we have become forced to be dependent on it, but I think at the same time, that's not a lost cause. For example, I think it was Wakey mentioning these. These networks you can use by texting each other, that even if there's power outage and there is no network, you can still text each other from phone to phone. It's a network, a P2P network. That's the thing. Again, I think it's very important not to be led down the road of a false dichotomy and think that there are only two possible scenarios. It's infinite. The possibilities are infinite, and this is a realm of frequencies. We know that. We can, if we become the change we want to see, we do, by its very nature, implement that change. That is the physics of the realm in which we exist. We put out good, bad vibes, and the repercussions are so. Oh, I'm live. I'm doing it. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah.
Me to see my friend. She's looks as if her blinds are down. No, her car's there. So
all right.
I hope she hasn't gone into the hospital. Maybe.
Oh, I'm sure she's fine.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just having a chat while I share the view. I'll be back indoors in a minute.
Yeah, I sat here yesterday, so I'll sit for a bit longer.
All right. Yeah. Okay. My dear mother. At least I'm glad she's getting out, because for a while she was petrified of even stepping outside the door. So, yeah. Lost track there. Was kind of in flow. So sorry about that. But this is more about sharing ideas, I think. And again, being positive. Yeah, we're in a realm of vibration. We know that there is a lot that is actually in our control. That's not to say that we can make things happen the way we want them to happen, but we can aim for a positive result, and it is kind of surprising and magical sometimes, the result that we actually get from a positive move or direction. That's the wonderful thing about this place. Things, you do something and the repercussions are unpredictable. Let's not be stuck in this false dichotomy. We must not be. It's just again, ooze that confidence that everything's all right. Yeah. And that would be infectious. Yeah. V. Thomas, I think urine therapy works wonders, but still okay. Waiting for clinical trials. Okay. I mean, again, each to their own. We, as individuals, we discover things that work for us or don't work for us, and that's okay. Yeah. Carolina's predicted in pet coat. Yeah. All right. Well thought out long ago. Yeah. That's okay. But again, forewarned is forearmed. Most of us could see this coming, and it's not a shock. And of course, you can again. I think you can just observe the craziness going on. But that's the thing. I think it doesn't become apparent until you're in, the crowd. The crowd mentality kicks off. Everyone, as individuals, we're all just going about it, doing our own thing. But then, as soon as we are interacting with strangers in a crowded situation, the mentality, these cultural rules. As I was saying earlier on, I actually noticed when I came back from Thailand that everyone actually gives each other space anyway. Nothing to do with any threat of coronavirus. This is just a respect thing. In the UK here, you do have a lot more personal space, and I believe for Americans it's even better pull over. For Americans, it's even wider personal space that most people kind of have, just because again they're in. But in Asia, you have to get used to not having that personal space. Whole families will live in one room, they'll sleep in one room, and but people still manage to get pregnant. But it's not, you don't have, as a couple, for example, you don't have that privacy from your kids, or you might be living with grandparents or something, and you don't have that privacy from them. It's very difficult to adapt. I found it difficult at first, but eventually it became second that, you have your intimate moments when the chance arises, but other than that, you're a very closely knit family unit or extended family unit, and natural bodily functions, farts and peeing and what have you, they're all just, they're not things to laugh about. They're just, they're just part of and that's the thing. You see, that's what, why are farts so funny, and things like that? It's because we know it's kind of because of those personal boundaries, those boundaries of personal space, and the way we've been taught to be embarrassed of these natural bodily functions, for example, when it comes to sitting down for dinner, and isn't it funny, because what you can see in the way that the British culture for the knives and the forks and the spoons, and when you use them and where they are on the table and all that, it's quite funny, because what is this? This is an attempt to distance ourselves from the fact that we are no different to any other animal, that we have to eat and consume. So we've made this whole pantomime out of sitting down to eat, and manners at the table and all that jazz. So there's that's the thing. It's fear that causes stress, because we're stressing about trying to cover up the fact that we're just human at the end of the day, and we have to eat. Yeah. So, those manners and what have you, yes, they exist in other cultures as well. There are different ways of dining which will project your upbringing, will define what level of society you are on. In Malaysia, many people, the Indians, for example, will still eat with their hands. They'll eat their rice with their hands. They just grab it, and but in every restaurant there's a sink to go and wash your hands. And of course, other people. Oh, sorry, got cut off. That the way you eat, your eating culture defines your status in society. So these are the things when we have to go along the rules, but it's also good to be aware of what our social conditioning is from day one. Not to fart of it in the post office. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not something I want to hear crying.
Yeah.
I'll forget you swept.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I've got things to do. I sorry if I've missed anyone in the chat, but it's a lot easier to go through later and look through. So let's just stay positive and do the right thing. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming along. Yeah. Join you all later. Yeah. Okay.